Hey y'all, in this video I'm going to show you how I leveled and squared my Avid CNC, then install the tabletop and tram the spindle. So let's not get into a long boring introduction, let's get right to it. After I took off the tabletop, I set about stringing up 2 pieces of mason's line in a diagonal across the bed of the machine. And the purpose of this was to see if one corner was higher than the other. I also used my 4-foot level to help me dial in the height. The purpose of this is to get both sides of the y-axis on the same plane, or as close as I possibly can. Put a couple of spacers underneath the mason's line to hold it up off of the top of the cross members. That made things a little bit easier. And once I had them leveled, I went around and tightened up all of the jam nuts so that nothing would move. Then it was time to seal the edges and all of the penetrations I made in my MDO board tabletop. I put a total of 4 coats of polyurethane on the edges and 3 coats of polyurethane on every one of the penetrations I made when I cut the mounting holes into the tabletop. After 3 coats on the bottom and 2 coats on each of the edges, I flipped it over and put 2 more coats of polyurethane on the edges, and then 3 coats of polyurethane on all of the holes and counterbores. I then let that dry overnight. Now, I used a spar polyurethane, but any kind of polyurethane will do. I let the tabletop cure overnight and then came in and fastened it down with M8 button head cap screws that are 20 millimeters long and some 5/16 inch diameter fender washers with an outer diameter of 1 1/4 inches. I clamped on my vertical work table just to help me position the tabletop. Then drove all the bolts home, then went back and torqued them all down by hand. Then it was time to put a piece of MDF on top of the tabletop and use this to square up the gantry. Now, I'll put a link in the description to Avid CNC's instructions on how to square the gantry by drilling 4 holes, then measuring them on the diagonal. I didn't have any 1/4-inch dowels to index from, so I used 1/4-inch shank end mills. So with both sides of my y-axis now coplanar after leveling and making sure that the gantry is running square by adjusting my sensor flags, I'm now ready to move on to tramming. So what I'm going to need to do is create a flat surface to index from. Now, machinists, when they're tramming a Bridgeport mill, they use the table. That's a precision ground, precision machined surface to index from. I'm going to be using MDF. There is nothing precision about that. So I have this small surface plate. I'm going to create that flat level surface here. That's what this is for. So to do that, I'm going to mount a dial indicator on my spindle, and this dial indicator mount just slips right over the collet nut very snugly, and that mounts the dial indicator in the spindle. I can then come over here and measure the 4 corners and level it up to get them all the same height away from the spindle. Now the spindle power is shut off. I don't need to turn the spindle on to do any of this. I'm just going to be using this dial indicator to level the 4 corners and make sure that I've got a nice level surface here to tram to. And all I'm going to do is bring the indicator over to roughly that corner. Then I'm going to bring my spindle down so that it's depressed. I'm going to go down to, well, I brought it down to where this is reading 92 thousandths. I'm going to set my 0 here. Okay, I have my dial indicator set to 0 here. Now I'm going to drive it over to this corner, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the low corner here. This is my lowest corner. So I need to bring both of these edges up. So I'm just going to start shimming and we'll go from there. Okay, that took me about 10 minutes to go around and using blades from 2 different sets of feeler gauges. I have my block leveled. It's leveled side to side and front to rear using this dial indicator. So now what I can do is I can start the actual tramming process itself. What I want to do is I want to check tram front to rear, because it doesn't matter if I adjust the twist out of it. the minute I have to loosen up the spindle to adjust nod out, it's going to undo all of the twists. Because as it sits right now, the only way to adjust nod out of the spindle front to rear is by shimming the mount. So that's where this little tool comes into play. And that is the Edge Technology Pro Tram system. Now, I have the Mini. I bought it and used it on my Avid CNC, and it works very, very well. The wider the tramming gauge, the better. So I should invest in the longer tramming gauge, but this will do for right now. So the Mini chucks into a 1/4 inch collet in the spindle. Then I'll use this little magnet to calibrate the two dial indicators so that they're both reading the same height. Then I can turn it sideways like this in the spindle, check tram to see if there's any difference. From there, I'll have to loosen up the mount and shim if that's necessary. If you notice, when I mounted the spindle and mounted the tramming mount, I wiped those surfaces down before putting them in place. That was to make sure there wasn't any dirt, dust, packing material, anything in there that would keep it from sitting flat against the mount and flat against the gantry plate. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off of the spindle now and then put my tramming gauge in, and we'll tram nod in the spindle, see how it works out. Okay, after moving the camera out of the way, recalibrating, and checking again, I am at 19 thou here and 10 thou here, meaning I've got a forward lean of about 9/1000ths of an inch. So what I'm going to have to do, well, I'm going to have to shim out the bottom to get the head to tilt back a little bit. So let's go get some shim stock and do that. Okay, after going back and forth a little bit, I'm going to move you over here and adjust the camera, and I'm going to try to zoom in. Now I know they're not reading 0, but they should read the same. So let's see if we can get this to focus on the gauge. There we go. We should be reading 22 on both. Again, they don't have to read 0. They have to read the same. What I ended up doing was putting in a blade from a feeler gauge that was 11 thousandths thick. And that's what I needed to do to adjust out the nod. Now I'm getting ready to go over and adjust the tilt. Let me zoom you back out. We'll bring you over here, and you and I will see what the tilt is for the first time together, because I really have no idea. So we spin this around, and oh boy, do we have some tilt. I am reading 18 thou over here, and I'm reading 26th thou over here. Now, adjusting the tilt is a lot easier, but this is why you adjust the nod first, because loosening all this up and then putting in shims, taking them out, putting them back in, trying a different shim, all of that would undo everything that I'm about to do right now. So what I'm going to do is just loosen these slightly so that that shim doesn't fall out. And did that change anything? Yes, I'm at 19 and 27. So now I'm going to take my 6mm hex, and I'll use this one, hold this bolt still, and adjust this cam nut with a 14mm wrench. What have I got? I've got 19 and 24. Now I've got 17 and 21. And now I've got 16 and 18. 15. 15 and 15. Alright, now I'm going to torque these other three before I touch the cam nut fastener. And again, I'm torquing to 120 inch-pounds. And again, that's more to make sure that they are torqued evenly to the same torque. And it's less about the number, more that they're all the same number. Okay? Let's make sure that didn't change anything. I'm on 15. No, I'm on 13. And 14 and 13. So it did change it a little bit. Let's see if we can adjust that thou out with those tightened up. I seriously doubt it. And oh my gosh, 13 and 13. 13 and 13. Let's lock this puppy down. It did change, but it changed on both of them. I'm at 14 and 14. Let's see if I can bring you in. I don't know if I can without lowering the tripod, which would be an ordeal. There we go. And everything is torqued down. I am trammed. I am ready to go.
Of course, with the tramming completed, I had to surface a piece of material to check it out and see how well I had done. So I mounted a sample of an exterior grade MDF that I got from Roseburg Timber Products to the CNC. I put my Amana RC2255 fly cutter into the spindle. Then I just drove it around manually. I didn't create a tool path to surface this sample piece of material. I just drove it around manually and surfaced about 1/8 of an inch off of the top of the MDF block. And it left a velvety smooth finish with no ridges, no shingling, no scalloping, nothing. It's nice and flat and smooth.
So that's it. Everything is all set up, ready to go. Now I can get down to installing my spoil board and T-track. But I know I'm going to have questions on some of the products that I used in making this video. So let me go ahead and address those right now. Starting with this surface plate. It's pretty hefty. This is a granite surface plate that is 6 inches wide, 6 inches tall, and 2 inches thick. Now again, when a machinist is tramming a mill, they have that precision machined and precision ground table that they can tram off of. And they use a dial indicator on a deflecting beam. I don't have a precision machined, precision ground table. I'm going to have MDF, and as I said in the video, there is nothing precision about that. So using the surface plate was creating that precision ground surface that I could then tram to. They're not expensive. I put a link down in the description box below to either this one or something very, very similar. Next is the dial indicator and the dial indicator mount. Now the dial indicator I got several years ago when I indexed and trammed the shoestring budget CNC. That was my first CNC router. There's a link to it down in the description as well. This cool 3D printed mount that slips over the ER20 collet nut was sent to me by a longtime friend of the channel and longtime subscriber. His is a slightly modified version of an original design over on Thingiverse by a gentleman by the name of Ben Carlson. Now I put a link in the description box to Ben Carlson's original design, where you can download the files and 3D print one if you choose to do so. Next is this Edge Technologies Pro Tramming System, they call it. Now, I have the Mini Pro Tramming System, which goes into a 1/4 inch diameter collet, and there is 3 inches between the dial indicator probes. They make a larger one that I'm going to invest in down the road that slips into a 1/2 inch collet, and there's 5 inches between the two dial indicator probes. The wider the better. So if you have a 1/2 inch collet and can get a surface plate that's bigger than 5 inches by 5 inches, the standard size Pro Tram system would be the better choice. If you only have a 1/4 inch collet, then the Mini is the one you would want to go for. The cost is the same. So if you have a 1/2 inch collet, that would be the better way to go. If you only have a maximum of a 1/4 inch collet, the Mini is the way to go. Next is the bit that I use to surface this sample piece of material. And that is the Amana RC2255 fly cutter. This thing is a beast. It's 2.5 inches in diameter. It fits a 1/2 inch collet. but it's just slightly too big to fit down into my 3-way touch plate, so I had to touch it off the old-fashioned way with a piece of paper. Worked like a champ. This thing made a nice smooth surface. I can't complain at all. It's pricey, but well worth the money, in my opinion. Now let's talk about that piece of material that I surfaced. This is a product called Armorite by Roseburg Timber Products. It's a Washington and Oregon based timber company. Armorite is an exterior grade MDF. This product is new to me. I've never used it. So I'm going to be doing some testing with this. Cut out some shapes, paint them with exterior latex house paint, hang them up on the fence, and just kind of monitor them and see how this material does. Roseburg will send you free samples of this product by going to their website. There's a link down in the description box, and enter a quantity that you want and shipping information. They are 8 inches wide, 10 inches tall, and 3/4 of an inch thick. Now, there was a Roseburg logo CNC machined into this corner over here. Part of the surfacing operation that I tested tram with removed that logo, so I have a piece of material to experiment with. Roseburg will send you samples of this material free of charge. Again, hit the link down in the description, check it out for yourself. I'm kind of anxious and eager to see how this is going to work in the wet Oregon winters. So you'll learn as I do. I wanted to give 2 special shout outs to folks who helped me to make this video. And number 1 is to Russ Tyndall over at Blue Line Wood Flags. Now Russ printed this very cool hose bracket to go around the 4-inch hose on my dust collection system and basically take all the strain off of the dust shoe here. Now, Russ did a video on his channel a few months back where he added LED lighting to the underside of the gantry on his Avid CNC, and he printed up the hose bracket and the mounts for the transformer for the LED lights and a little pocket to store his 3-way touch plate. In that video, he describes how to put that together and install it. I'm talking about the hose bracket here. So I put a link to that video down in the description of this video, and in the description of his video, he has a link to his website where you can download that hose bracket yourself. Speaking of my dust collection system, I also wanted to give a shout out to Keith over at One Guy in a Shop. He's the man who created this very cool dust shoe. It is called the Triceravac Dust Eater. And brother, I'm here to tell you it lives up to that name. If you noticed when I was surfacing this piece of MDF, when I got finished, there wasn't a speck of dust from MDF to be seen. Not one. It lives up to that dust eater name, I'm here to tell you. Even when the dust shoe went off the edge of the material, nothing escaped. And that's because, as I said before, it's optimized for maximum airflow in that there are 3 separate chambers on this dust shoe that basically surround the spindle and surround the bit to where whatever direction that gantry is moving, it's catching all of that dust. I have yet to see a dust shoe that will outperform this. So Keith, thank you very much. You have an excellent product. Again, hashtag not sponsored. I did buy it. I did buy the bracket. I paid for all of this, believe me. So, thank you to you guys for making this possible. What's next? Next, I can finally get down to laying down the spoil board on my bed, get that surfaced, and start making projects. So, if you'd like to follow along in this journey, I do hope you'll subscribe to my channel. If you want to go a little bit deeper and get some behind the scenes and take part in a members only live stream every Monday, I do hope you'll consider becoming a channel member. Now you can find out more information on becoming a channel member by clicking that join button right there next to the subscribe button. A panel will pop up and a video will play that'll tell you all about channel membership on my channel. Now I know there is no way that I answered every question you're going to have about leveling, squaring, tramming, or any of these products that I just talked about. So this afternoon at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll be hosting a live Q&A session where you can ask me any question you'd like about anything I've shown in this video or in any of my previous videos. Again, that's today at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on my YouTube channel. And I've already put a link to that live Q&A session down in the description box of this video. Now, these live Q&A sessions are a lot of fun, and they're a great reason to go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And when you click that red subscribe button, click that little bell icon right next to it. Then click it a second time and set that menu to all notifications. Then you'll get a notification the next time I post a video and the next time I go live. So, I hope to see you this afternoon for the live Q&A session. And as always, whether you subscribe to my channel or not, whether you become a channel member or not, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to watch. Y'all take care.